Welcome back to the Nerdy Neighborhood, everybody, and welcome back to your Friendly Neighborhood Comic Show. I'm your host, Lauren, your Friendly Neighborhood Bi, and we are back with another indie comic creator talking about the Zoop Comics from the Kitchen with Kylar. How are you, Kylar?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I am good. I hope you're doing well because, as we were just talking briefly earlier, your campaign just funded as of this morning. So
yes.
A huge congrats there. How's that feel?
Appreciate it. It feels good, but like I was telling you before, like I'm not a count my chickens before they hatch kind of person. Like I can't think too much about it because I just can't, or else I'm gonna get too in my head and get myself overexcited, and I'm too scared for that. So, but it feels good, but I'm still being cautious.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is everything I wanted has happened. Wait a second, where is the catch?
Exactly, yeah, exactly. There's got to be a catch coming somewhere, which there will be, because there inevitably there'll be some problem that'll come up. But for now, I just need to learn to just go with it and just be happy.
Yeah, so. Yeah, enjoy it, because at the end of the day, even if and when other things come up, it will work out. Everybody's gonna get their comic. You guys get to make it. I really love just the premise. So this is an anthology, and the name of it is Comics from the Kitchen. So what in the world can we expect with something where they're literal comics from the kitchen put together?
Yeah, it's just the whole point of the anthology was just to capture food memories, because we all have. I knew I wanted to do something with food, and so I knew I wouldn't need to narrow that down, and so I narrowed it down to food memories, because we all have memories that are tied to specific foods that are tied to specific memories, like something that your grandparents used to make, or something that your mom taught you what to do, or something like that. But so basically, you're just going to get a bunch of stories that are about that. There's some others that are, we have some pirates, we have some, some post-apocalyptic stuff. We have other weird things going on. But for the most part, it's, people just telling stories that about, a recipe that, that meant a lot to them. And so you get a story, and then you get the recipe to go with it. And so, you get to see the memory take place in the comic, and then you get the recipe, and so you can cook that along with the story. And then it builds on itself, You get to build that recipe, you get to be part of that memory. And it's all this great little combination of things that's really blends together really well.
That's awesome. You really can't find that anywhere, where you get, kind of something that's themed, and then you get the actual product with it, like the recipes and stuff. Are there any favorite recipes in here that you're like, all these are great, but these are the ones I would say go try them as soon as you can?
I would say, I think that they all have a lot of value, just because like I said before, you get to be a part of them, and that makes the recipe even better, because seeing that memory, one of them is from that I've mentioned a lot is Jimmy Gasparo. He has one with his dad's meatball recipe, and so the meatball recipe is great, but when you get it with the story of how he was taught the recipe, it makes the recipe even better. But that's a really good one. Let's see. Let me think.
Take your time.
Good smoked salmon recipe from Tom Lynott and Claudio Gerardo. And there's I have a fish and hush puppies recipe in there, which I won't lie, the fish recipe isn't too complex, but the hush puppies is my recipe. But and then there's plenty. They're not all super complicated, intense recipes. Some of them are just Dan Mambiela has one that's just boniato frito, which is just fried boniato, which is like a sweet potato. And so it's not super complex. But then I'm just looking at the page right now, and then we have another one that's basically it's a Melanie Charlotte cannoli cream layer cake is what she called it. But it's a recipe that she invented when she was a kid. And so it's a really cool recipe, but then to have it with the story just makes it so much better.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I love the variety and kinds of recipes you have. And kind of like you said, there are some that are more complicated and, something that seems more friendly to people that really like to cook and they want more of a challenge. Exactly. And there's also stuff that's just you just want something fun, but it still tastes good. Here you go. Exactly. 3 things and you're set.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just this, I didn't want to keep it confined to like one specific type of food or one specific like culture or anything like that. It was just like, whoever you are, whatever you're into, wherever you come from, just if you have a story. And so we have some that are from I think he's from Cuba originally, his family is, so that's Cuban. We have from Puerto Rico. We have I can't think of any of the other places we have right now, but we have recipes from like people from all across the world, that are, so we have just so many varieties that like there's gonna be something for everybody in it,
Yeah, and that's really hard to do, especially with something like food and how much diversity. I mean, there's diversity in everything, but I feel like food and all the different cultures and ways you can do something, it's so diverse. It can be hard to capture that. But I mean, just from the previews alone, it looks like you guys have worked super hard, as you said, to capture all of that. And like you said, give something that, makes sense to everybody and, is helpful to them and something they're familiar with, but also give them stuff that, hey, you're not familiar with this. It's still worth a shot. Give it a try.
Yeah, exactly.
And, with this anthology, where did the idea come from in terms of, I know you mentioned, just kind of doing like, a collaboration of different things that remind us of, how we connect with food, whether that's personal or otherwise, but kind of what was the spark here?
I mean, it kind of was just I don't want to say luck, but like, I knew I had previously done an anthology last year and knew I wanted to do another one. So I had a need for an anthology. I had a need, and then I saw something, about doing a project, write what you love. So I was like, okay, I want to do something with food. I want to do an anthology. Okay, what if we can do some kind of cookbook? And then I was like, okay, why not just combine those two ideas? Because I don't feel confident in my cook. I like to cook. I love to cook. But I don't feel confident enough in my cooking or my, originality to like make a whole cookbook myself. And so I was like, why not? And plus, bringing the other people adds a whole other element to like, just the like I was talking about, the diversity of recipes and things like that. So it was just kind of a serendipity. It was just like, hey, I need an anthology. I need something with food. They fit perfectly together. So that's just what we're going to do. And so it's just kind of, we started it in last June, I think, is when I started submissions. And so, we almost have the complete final product now. Pretty much whatever's left is just stuff that I haven't done on my end. So
that's awesome. That's not too long either. I mean,
no.
There's different time periods for anthologies getting together, but just a little over a year, that's not bad, especially with all involved. And like you said, how many different, recipes there are and stories and art styles. What was it like, putting it out there to the community and saying, hey, so we're looking for some people for this thing. How do you want to do it? Was it the response overwhelming? Was it you found your team and stuck with it? Like, what was that kind of like for you guys?
I mean, I would say it was pretty, I don't know if I'd say overwhelming, but it was definitely got a really good response because I think that a lot of people really resonated with the whole food aspect of it. I think that, because like I said before, we all have those memories. And so with that being the prompt, it really I think it brought out something in a lot of people and really made people think and really made people, want to be a part of this. But for the most part, we've stuck with our team. It wasn't like we had hundreds of submissions. I think we probably had about 4 or 5 more than ended up being in the anthology. And a couple of those were just people who backed out and just because couldn't meet deadlines or just were like, hey, I can't make this work right now. Or a couple people with medical conditions, things like that. But for the most part, it's been pretty much the same group from the get-go. I'd say probably 85 to 90% consistent, the same group consistently the whole time. But it was just, wasn't really particular about the artwork or anything like that because I knew that, what was a priority for me was people's ability to tell a story more than just like, is the style for me? Because I know that not everything is my style, is my cup of tea. So I was just like, okay, let's just let these people submit in their style. And, if they can tell a story, that's all that matters. And so I wasn't particular about, if they fit this certain theme or anything like that. So we have a ton of different styles, a ton of different people doing different things in the anthology that is really, I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I agree. That really stood out to me as well as the different levels and different styles of art and things like that. And I think it's really cool to hear your focus on the stories, because especially with anthologies, I think it is very easy to become even pickier about art, because when you have a theme, it's kind of like having a themed party. It's one thing to just have a normal party, you're writing one thing, one time, one set, but when you have an anthology, it's like everybody must meet the theme. So I love that your theme wasn't something that is often seen in other anthologies, which is this is how it needs to look, this is how it needs to feel, other than it needs to tell a great story and match the message of being passionate about food and what it means to people.
Yeah, that's completely it.
And I know it can be kind of scary doing that, especially with anthologies, because anthologies can be very hit or miss, I think, at times for the community. Some people really love them and see the value of them, I think, kind of like you did and your choice in doing one. And other people are kind of like, ugh, anthology, not for me. Is this your guys' first anthology y'all have done?
No, this is our third, actually. We had one. My first one was in 2020. I did it because I'd never done one before, and I was just going to do one that was about COVID. And so I was like, let's let's give this a positive spin on COVID, because I thought it was going to last a month. So I put that together. It was digital only. It's called Pandemics and Panels. And then I did my, then the next one we did was one called Fletcher Cross, which was a narrative anthology that funded on Kickstarter last year. And then so basically we've gone right from one anthology into the next one, and then after this one it's going to roll right into the next one. So I'm slowly, as I do it, I'm learning a lot more about anthologies and how they work, and like what's the best way to go about them, and different like little tips and tricks and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. So since it's your third, you've gotten kind of used to them. Hopefully most of the jurors, probably not all, but some of the jurors of, okay, another anthology have like kind of dipped. You're like, I feel confident, I know how these work. So,
I have a process.
A method to the madness. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
So with Forum Press Comics, I'm just so interested, because you have projects like this, you have the RT project you mentioned. What's kind of your goal with Forum Press Comics in terms of, are you just focused, like you said, on telling good stories? Do you have a specific vision for what you guys become over time?
I think that, the focus is on, storytelling, because I think that's my strength when it comes to comics is stories and like characters and things like that. I know that I definitely have other weaknesses, but I think that's one of my strengths, and so I really want to focus on that and like make that part of the label, part of the brand. And so like I don't know what the plan is as far as like, do I want to make this a nationally distributed thing and try to get through Diamond and all these things, just because that's a lot of work. I just don't know if that's what I want for myself, and that's but I think one of the big things that I want it to be is to be a resource, and that's one of the things that works about the anthologies. And what I mean by a resource is like, I want to be like a place for people to be able to learn, people to be able to collaborate, people to for people to share ideas, share tips, things like that. And so like I'm slowly taking small steps, they're not all visible yet, to make that happen. But I think an anthology is a big part of that, because it gives voices to newer creators. It provides just a way for people to get published, because that's a big step for people, is just having your name in a book, especially in a printed book. And so I think that's all a big part of it. But being a resource and being like a community is kind of my big goal. And so, but that's a really hard thing to get to. So it's just kind of figuring out how to navigate that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's a similar goal, with the channel here. I'm not looking, and we aren't, Chase and I, Chase is my co-host, when we do the live shows, we're not looking to be like the biggest channel ever or anything. Yeah. And, no shame to channels that want to do that. That's totally fine. Exactly. But, being a resource community is important to us. And like you said, it's actually a lot harder than people think, in terms of, they're like, cool, well, you're nice and you try to help people. That means you're a resource, right? I mean, it's like, well, yeah, but being a resource in my head is so much bigger than that. And there's like many things I have to do before I can even begin to start doing that the way I want to and the way I think would be most effective for people.
Yeah, and it's really hard. It's even harder, especially with social media being the way that it is, like, because that's a big way to build community, and then just with what's currently going on with certain apps not working and certain people not handling things correctly, and all this drama going on, and who's on what, and because it seemed like Twitter was the place, now it's not. And it's harder to build a community, especially when it feels like the algorithm or whatever is like pushing you down, like keeping you from being able to like actually communicate your message with people. Because like I've tried for a while, and like just some stuff hits and some stuff doesn't, and there's just no way to tell what does and what doesn't, so it's just that lack of consistency makes it so much harder.
Yeah, I agree. I've been trying to figure that out lately too, in terms of like, if people aren't happy with this one social media, it's like, well, where are people going? And even just trying to figure out where people are going, so that kind of like you said, we can continue to be that resource for people, because it's less, I want to go somewhere so I can get big. It's more, okay, where are people going so I can help provide the content and resources that I want to. If I don't know where people are, I can't do that. So
exactly.
It's so challenging right now, and I think it's even, I feel like that's so much, it's so much more relieving now when somebody is crowdfunded, because I think before, like, not that it was guaranteed, nothing is guaranteed at any level, but there was a certain formula, before, like with Twitter and things like that, where if you marketed it well, you listened to other people that were great running Kickstarters, you would get at least funded, you know what I mean? And now it's kind of like, well, that's blown off the roof. So now even the people that have been doing this for 10 plus years, they have to reevaluate everything.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was just talking to my girlfriend the other day about that, when the thing happened on Twitter where that your tweets got limited. I was just like, I'm screwed, because I was like, as someone who is trying to build a business or build a label, create something that's, I can't fund myself, and I need that group of people. I need a community to do that with. And then to like have that community just completely thrown up in the air and be like, oh, maybe you're on Blue Sky, maybe you're on Threads or whatever, maybe you're just going to be on Facebook, maybe you're going to jump to TikTok, who knows, And so like there's all these different things that's like, everything I'm trying to plan for is up in the air, because a lot of these comic things, and for any business, are like planned way out in advance, and it's hard to plan things out in advance when there's things like that are so wishy-washy, and it just makes things really difficult.
Yeah, and I think because there are different communities, like depending on what industry you're in and things like that. It's hard too, because it's not like the people on comics Twitter, it's not like they're the what people call Gen Z or whatever, and when TikTok got big, they all went to TikTok. The comics community is a different audience, and it's a mixture of different audiences as well, and it in particular is very hard to pinpoint what the niche is, what the ages are there, and so I feel like that makes it even harder to figure out, because it's like, well, they're not all going to TikTok because they're not all 16 to 22 year olds, like maybe some of them went there, maybe people outside that age range went there anyway, of course, but what are we supposed to do when we just don't know things, and when there's no one telling us, I think it'd be really cool if there was like a couple people in the comics community that could help kind of rally us and say, hey, what are we looking for? What do we need as a community, and where we want to go? And we don't really have that. So I think as a whole, the comics community is kind of spasming and freaking out, because we don't have that, which kind of stinks. And I don't know who should be who the people could be to kind of do that. That's the harder thing too. I feel like there's so much infighting in the comics community too, but that's a whole other discussion. So it's like, man, when are we gonna unite, guys?
Exactly.
Happy to help, but call me.
I just don't know, that they're, not to be like negative, but like it's like, I don't know that anything ever will like completely decide. I just want things to stabilize, just to not be so, because like there's the whole Hive thing that happened, and then it's like, oh, everybody moved to Hive, and then like a week later we're shut down because of a massive security leak or issue, and so it's just like, okay, so that blew up, and it's just, and people are so over this whole issue, that it's just like, why that so many people are just like, I'm not leaving because I'm tired of doing this. And so it's just, it's all just dumb. And so it's just, that's the most frustrating part, is just like, I just want it to be over with.
I think that's where everybody is. I think we all just want it to be over with. I think one thing that's kind of interesting is if people are just staying on Twitter and they're not going to other places or not using them as much, but there's still so much less like interaction on Twitter. So like a bunch of people are still staying there, but there's less interaction. It's like we're almost like stopping communicating in some ways. And like you said, like stopping these communities from forming. And that's probably the scariest and saddest part to me. I'm like, we can't let them, even though as frustrating this stuff is, and as done with it as I am as well, like we can't let them, you know, take these ways of, you know, building communities away from us just because they're going to be ridiculous, you know?
Exactly.
But I think we'll figure it out at some point. It's just a really not fun transition time.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
But all that said, at least we still have great, you know, Zoops. So yours is a Zoop and Kickstarters and all that, you know, we can still back and still get the happy brain feelings from once we get the rewards.
Yeah.
What drew you to the Zoop corner of, you know, doing your crowdfunding, and what rewards did you want to offer with this campaign to really focus on?
Yeah. So I went to Zoop just because it was different. It was just something new that it's still a relatively new platform. For anybody who doesn't know, it's just like Kickstarter but comics only, or comics focused. And so I just wanted to do something different. And the thing about Zoop is that, and this is both a pro and a con. And the people who, I just want to say this because I don't want to sound like I'm trashing anybody. The people who work there are two people I've been in contact with mostly, Jordan and Eric, are awesome people. They've been a huge help. They've helped answer all my questions perfectly. It's great. But Zoop inherently, I think, has some pros and cons because it's very hands off. So like, I just that's one of the things that drew me in about it, is that I just kind of give them all my files. They make the whole Zoop page. They handle what the shipping costs are. They handle all that other stuff. They handle a lot of the details of it. But that also means that, you know, I don't have the hands-on control that I would have on Kickstarter over certain details. I have to go through them. But so that's kind of what drew me to Zoop. But as far as the campaign, you know, I didn't offer really anything too crazy. You know, I did, you know, the normal stuff, a PDF, the book, and then, you know, on the bottom, that's the other thing about Zoop that I do like, is that you can build your own rewards, basically, unlike Kickstarter, where, you know, you have to have a bundle. And I know some people get confused by that on Kickstarter, but Zoop is just like basically any other e-commerce site. You just click the little plus sign, add it to your cart, and then you just check out. And so, you know, we have the book, then, you know, there are bundles as well, but I always put a retailer bundle in with my campaigns, just because I like that opportunity. And I think we've gotten, I know some people have bought it, like creators have bought it just to support the book, and that way they get extra copies and things like that, which I appreciate. You know, everybody gets their comp copies, but if that's how they choose to support it, that's great. But I know we did have some books, some stores back the project as well, so that's good. And then down at the bottom, you know, I just have I wanted to offer all the Foreign Press books as add-ons. And then the other thing was the handwritten recipe cards were one of the original ideas I had for the project. And it's just I think it's a very nostalgic thing, and because a lot of this book relies on nostalgia. And like, because I don't know if you remember, but like, you know, or if you had this, but like my mom had her recipe box with all the little index cards in it. My grandpa had the same thing. And so I'm going to handwrite, you know, however many I have to, however many of those rewards there are. And I'll just, you know, handwrite the recipe cards for a random recipe from the book. And so I just thought that was a big thing, because it really just fit with the whole vibe. And like I said, it was one of the first reward ideas that I actually had for the book. So, you know, just kind of, I knew that was going to be in there.
Yeah, I love rewards that are those personal touches as well. I think, you know, I might just be a sap, but I think, you know, they have more sentimental value to them. And, you know, typically creators like you that are willing to do that stuff and put them out there, like you guys take time out of your way to do it. And, you know, depending on how many of those you have to handwrite, you hurt your wrists doing it for us. So it's super kind of you to do that. I love that. And again, that's something you literally can't get anywhere else. Like, so people that like that exclusive value or collector's thing or whatever, like you literally cannot beat that. You're not going to find that anywhere else on the planet.
Exactly.
And yeah, you got a couple other things here. You got the Valkyrie End, the Sleep Sister Sleep. I mean, you got like some really interesting books here that it's so, like you said, you make it so easy to just add on, and it doesn't add a gazillion more dollars. They're fairly priced. They make sense. Like I love how easy it is here on Zoop.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really, I mean, I had somebody did ask me how to do it, and so they were like, oh, I have to make an account, but like that's really it. It's pretty easy. You just, like I said, you just click add to cart and just go like normal. It's a super easy system for people who are backing it, and so I like it. I don't know how, I don't know whether or not I'll use it again. That's still up in the air because it does have differences from Kickstarter. Like Kickstarter has a built-in audience, has a really big built-in audience that I think a lot of people don't count on. But Zoop does not have that as of yet. And so, the thing with Zoop is that you have to bring your audience to Zoop. Whereas Kickstarter, you do have to bring your audience to Kickstarter, but Kickstarter also has an audience built in. And so it is another level of difficulty that it brings to it. So it's just, like I said, pros and cons to everything. And so, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I mean, I do kind of like you said, like I obviously have not ran a campaign, but the things I've seen and heard about Zoop, a lot of them are very good things, right? Ideas, just a lot of, again, differences and technical things. So I'm hoping that over time they do, then they continue to build an audience with Zoop. But again, like you said, Zoop is comics only, which makes it harder to become a thing than even Kickstarter because you have a much different audience, a much smaller audience, and a much more diverse audience. The comics audience is very hard to gauge, I think, harder than most people imagine. And especially like you kind of alluded to earlier, like especially when it comes to anthologies, it's just so up in the air. Like sometimes anthologies like really are on, people love the idea, and sometimes just people are like, I'm not about it. And so it's a really weird thing that anthologies are definitely a weird scenario. And so like later this year, I'm going to run the first campaign for a single issue. And so I want to see how different that'll be because from what I've heard, can be a lot easier to sell a single issue than an anthology. So, I'm excited to see the difference there. Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, I'm interested to see about it as well because that's a thing. Like my job is to be a resource to everybody and to help you guys succeed as much as possible and to help everybody that watches the show, whether you're a creator or somebody that just consumes everything like I do. But find good stuff that is worth consuming because I think that's the thing too. There's so much stuff out there. And it's about finding the stuff that makes you happy and is good for the world too, whether that's because it's telling a story that's necessary or it makes you feel happy. Who knows? Yeah,
exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Kylar, for coming on. I am super excited for you guys already getting funded. A huge congrats. Hopefully the next couple of days we see those numbers go up so you can feel a little more comfortable and excited.
I hope so, yeah.
Well, tell us where we can find you, whatever you want to plug. I know it's crazy right now, but tell people wherever you want them to find you.
Okay. The best place is going to be, we're most active on Twitter, @FPressComics, but also Instagram, Facebook, hopefully getting into TikTok. We'll see. I just keep throwing that out there, and who knows. @ForeignPressComics. Look up Foreign Press Comics wherever. We'll find it. We're on Threads, too. Waiting on a Blue Sky invite. We'll see about that. And then ForeignPressComics.com is the next thing, so.
Oh, perfect. See, I feel like, I was trying to go away from like, I'll never have to make a website because everything's social media now. And I'm like, crap, I'm going to have to make a website, aren't I?
Yeah, they say that an email list is one of the best things. And I'll plug that. Sign up for our email list at our website. And if we get to 100 supporters, which we're really close, I have a comic that has never seen the light of day that I will be shipping out to, or not ship. It'll be digital, but I'll be sending it out to all of the email subscribers. So get on that list if you want a free, never before seen comic.
Heck yeah! See, there you go, guys. You're getting a lot of exclusive shit today.
Exactly.
You guys have everything that no one else has. It's the best day of your life.
Exactly.
Well, I'll put all those links below so that all of you guys that just want things, but you're super lazy like I am, you can just click a couple times. You can back this Zoop. You can go get free stuff by signing up for the newsletter. I mean, you can't beat everything Kylar's doing. Like, Kylar, you really are being such a great resource. Thank you so much for coming on. Anything you want to share about the future Foreign Press Comics that you want to tease, or everything is cruising for now?
Yeah, I mean, keep an eye on, like I said, the email list is going to be the best place, but keep an eye on just the website. We have a new not a new anthology. We have an anthology coming next year. We have our first mini series coming later this year. And then, as always, I like to plug my little comic Peter the Fistronaut, which is just Calvin and Hobbes meet Star Trek. It's on our website. It's just a little web comic that I do. So go check that out.
I love that. I will be showing that to my siblings because they are Star Trek fans, and I believe they like Calvin and Hobbes too. So I will show them that comic.
It's just these two little guys, and they just explore the universe and learn a little bit about each other at the same time. So
that's adorable. I love it. I will be checking that out.
Okay.
Perfect.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you again, Kylar, for coming on, and thank you, nerdy neighbors, for watching wherever you are, whether you're on Twitter or Blue Sky, or you're just off the grid and you just have like one tiny phone hiding in the corner. Whatever works. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to click all the links below for Kylar and Forum Press. Back to Zoop. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Here is the most reliable way you can support us and help us support creators like Kylar right now. And otherwise, we'll see you guys next time in the nerdy neighborhood.